Welcome to Podcasting Smarter, the podcast for podcasters by podcasters. Podcasting Smarter is the official podcast from Podbean, featuring podcasting interviews, best practices, and helpful tips. We're here to give you the tools, resources, product updates, and news to help you get started podcasting and keep your podcast growing.
Hello and welcome to Podcasting Smarter. This is Norma Jean Belenke, Podbean's head of events. And in today's episode, we're having a conversation with our podcast specialist, Roni Gosch, on Podbean's latest feature that we're so excited to announce, QR codes. Hi, Roni. How's it going?
It's going great, Norma Jean. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. So first off, can you tell us a little bit more about Podbean's new QR code feature and how it benefits podcasters and listeners?
Oh, yes, this is so exciting. I absolutely love this feature. I love QR codes. When it comes to the modern age, any way that you can promote your podcast is going to be beyond just like, hey guys, here's a link to my episode, just tossed up on, Twitter, on Facebook. Anything that takes it a step beyond there is really going to stick out in the minds of everybody. So by having this QR code, you are going to have a new way to promote your podcast, whether it's going to be putting it on stickers that you slap around or putting it on a decal that you put in your car window, putting it directly on a business card. You are creating a direct access point to your content that anybody can, check out at any time with the least amount of clicks possible.
Absolutely. And reducing those clicks is huge, right? Because there's something called click fatigue, where if you're going to go to a website, but then there's like 3 or 4 different sites you have to go to, or maybe you're clicking on a link that takes you to a website that takes you to a directory that takes you to the show, then you have to find the episode that you want. You definitely want to minimize the points of contact to get your audience or potential listener directly to the content as soon as possible. So that's super important. And how do the QR codes work to direct listeners straight to the podcast website? Can you walk us through the process?
Oh, sure thing. It is actually super simple. So for any podcast that is hosted with Podbean, you will have your own podcast website. This is going to be yourpodcastname.podbean.com, or if you own the domain, it's, yourpodcastname.com, but that's a, horse of a completely separate color here. So once you get to that page, you're at the very top, you're going to have a row of buttons, and one of them is going to say subscribe. And when you click on that button, it's going to give you a list of all of the directories that your podcast is listed on. So every directory that you've submitted your podcast to, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere, all of those will be listed right directly on that page. And then as you scroll down, you will have your very own QR code that will have your podcast cover as the centerpiece. And scanning that code will take anybody to your podcast page directly, where they can listen to every single episode that you have published.
Absolutely. And what are the advantages of using QR codes as a method for podcast promotion compared to traditional methods?
Totally. So here's the thing. With the modern age, every single person has a smartphone in their pocket, and basically every single smartphone has the ability to read a QR code. We're using them in restaurants for menus. People are using them to spread the word of everything from, hey, check out my dog's TikTok, to check out this cool video that I found on YouTube, to check out my podcast. And so by having a QR code instead of just like a link embedded somewhere, you're creating something that can be printed out, that can be, put on your car, that can be put on your business card, that can even be put like on a sign in your yard if you want to get, that crazy with it. And anybody can see that code, have that curiosity strike them of, oh, hey, where does this code go? Or, oh, hey, this person's promoting a code. What's going on? Then they'll want to scan it, and they'll be able to do so quite easily with their phone. And then they'll have a direct link to your podcast. They won't have to, go to their phone and type in your podcast name. They won't have to try to find you on, every single directory that could possibly exist. They just scan the code. It pops in their phone. They can click on an episode, and they can get hooked on your content as quick as possible.
Absolutely. And I think that that's a really important thing because, we've all had that instance where you open your phone to do something, to look something up, to check out a new podcast, and then you're distracted and you find yourself doing something totally different. And 15 minutes later, you forgot why you opened your phone in the first place. So it definitely cuts down on some of that noise as well. And I want to go over some of the other benefits. So the first is convenience for listeners, right? QR codes offer a convenient way for listeners to access podcast content really quickly, right? So, and when you scan the QR code, you're just opening the phone on your camera, and then your phone will pick up the QR code and then post the link. You click on it and it takes you directly there. So it saves time and effort and enhances the overall listening experience. Seamless sharing is also a really important aspect as well. QR codes make sharing podcasts really effortless. So you can easily incorporate QR codes into various promotional materials. You can put them on your business cards, posters, flyers, social media. If you check out our social media posts for this week for Podcasting Smarter, we're going to be sharing the QR code for Podcasting Smarter. So you can see what it looks like, scan it, have it take you directly to the show, and then you can obviously apply it for your own podcast. So we want you to have that example and see what the integration looks like as well. And it enables you to reach a wider audience and increase the chances of attracting new listeners. Listeners can also share QR codes with their friends or networks. So, if you like a podcast, you can send the QR code out to all your friends instead of sending a link or sending maybe the name of the show or that kind of thing. They also bridge the gap between offline and online promotion. So podcasters can display QR codes in physical locations. So if you're going to an event, we're always at so many podcasting conferences, whether it's Podcast Movement, Podfast. We're at so many different podcast conferences, and you see at a lot of booths, there's a lot of QR codes present. So if you are at any event, maybe you have a corporate podcast and you have a booth at a conference within your industry, you can pop up a flyer or a poster with the QR code and people can walk by and scan it. And so it really enables people to engage faster and offline to easily access the podcast once they're online. Additionally, the QR codes feature really valuable tracking and analytics. So you can gain insight to the number of scans your QR code receives. It allows you to gauge the effectiveness of your marketing and kind of putting your QR code out there, which is really fun. And then there's also, there's a couple more I want to talk about, Roni. The first is cross-platform compatibility. So if you're hosted on Podbean, or, if you're not hosted on Podbean yet, you can generate a QR code using Podbean's badge page. So it ensures that all podcasters can take advantage of the benefits. So, at Podbean, we're really here to provide tools and education. We have so many incredible tools. So even if you're just distributing on our directory, anything like that, you can definitely take advantage. And they definitely allow you to align your podcast more with your brand, right? So your logos, your colors, you can bring those elements into the QR code. And overall, it really increases your discoverability.
Absolutely.
I know I kind of just ran through those, but I think it's important just to lay out the benefits because there's so many and we're really excited. It's a really fun feature. The thing about QR codes that, we don't always talk about is that they're just really fun.
Oh, absolutely. This is one of my favorite stories to share, but it's also kind of like one of those things where it's like, be careful. I was walking through the Walmart parking lot of all places with my mom, and somebody had a QR code in the shape of a cat on the back of their car. And I was like, oh my God, it's a cat QR code. I gotta scan it. I immediately pulled out my phone to scan it and it went to somebody's TikTok page for their cat. And it was like, oh, TikTok, I don't care about that. I thought it was going to be something more fun than that. But it was like, I was so immediately taken by like this cat shaped QR code that I had to scan it. And you'd be surprised how many people will just scan a QR code because they want to know where it goes. So you can really take advantage of that curiosity and that drive to kind of know what's going on with things to make people want to scan, your QR code to check out your podcast.
Absolutely. We're going to have the QR code on all our socials this week, so you can check it out. On most social platforms, we're at podbean.com, which is really cool. And we'll also have a link for how to set yours up here in the show notes for this episode. So definitely important to check out. And we're just so excited about this feature.
Oh yeah, it's game changing. So for so long, you had to go to specific sites. You would have to buy a QR code or, pay money to have something, made for your podcast, or it'd be something that's very limited with how many times it could be scanned or how much, what kind of analytics you get. But now, because we're generating it for you, you can skip all of those steps and we just have it ready for you to, put on your business card, put on a sticker, to, slap on a sign somewhere so people can just, be curious and check it out. So we're excited to see how people are going to use it.
Yes, absolutely. And I love the QR code sticker idea, Roni. That's brilliant. Definitely. If you do that out there, if you make a QR code for your podcast and you make stickers of that QR code, let us know. We love stickers here at Podbean. And if you ever see us at a conference, we'll definitely give you some Podbean limited edition stickers. So thanks so much, Roni. This has been such a pleasure. And if you have any QR code questions, reach out to us at podcastingsmarter@podbean.com. Thanks so much. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Podcasting Smarter. If you have any podcasting questions or want to get in touch, send us an email at podcastingsmarter@podbean.com. Thanks so much and happy podcasting.